Alright, YouTube, gays and minorities and lesbians and feminists and atheists and virtually everyone in America will sleep soundly tonight, knowing that Rick Santorum, the most bigoted modern politician with an obsession with homosexuality, has suspended his presidential campaign. So, thank Satan or God or Allah or, whatever figure you want to. Really, America has sent a message to Santorum. In particular, kudos to the people of Pennsylvania, because that was Rick Santorum's home state, and he was polling at best very slight lead in his own home state, which is, no politician can do that and actually win the race. It's just not going to happen. I mean, he was polling maybe 1 or 2 points ahead of Romney. Some polls showed Romney beating him in his own home state. So, I mean, it looked bad for him anyway. But really, I think what did it in for Santorum is he's sort of a one-trick pony. And I have the same grief with Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney. Of course, I'm a Ron Paul person myself. Will he probably get the nomination? No. Mitt Romney will probably get the nomination. But it's nice at least to kick Santorum out. He was basically a one-trick pony. He offered a financial plan, a very vague one, which, for all intents and purposes, said absolutely nothing. And that's really what the race is about. It's about fixing, this year, it's primarily about fixing the financial system and a handful of social issues. He wasn't keyed into any of these issues. Most Republicans don't believe in gay marriage. But most Republicans aren't completely obsessed with trying to grind down every homosexual in the country, which seems to be Rick Santorum's main line of defense. Apparently everyone who's against him is this uber-liberal feminazi gay, and those are the people that oppose Rick Santorum, and he has this seeming messiah complex where he's climbing down from the mountains in a white robe to save people, as I said in the former video, from the sodomites. That seems to be his ideal campaign slogan. And this election has nothing to do with those issues. People aren't fired up about such things. So Rick Santorum never really had a chance. It was surprising to even see him, the fact that he was ever even considered a viable candidate and a possible, anyone but Romney candidate, the fact that he was even considered momentarily to be viable casts doubt on the mental health of the people who are running the Republican Party. It really does. So I'm glad to see him out of the race. He was just a bigot. He was a chauvinist. He was somewhat of a racist if you listen to some of his comments. I found it funny that people were up in arms about Ron Paul's supposed racism when the president of the Austin NAACP was coming out and supporting him and saying he wasn't. And then nobody got on Rick Santorum for his comments about various minorities, including the gay community. Apparently in the Republican Party, it's not okay to attack black people, but it's perfectly fine to attack gays and feminists and women in general. That's apparently okay. Talking about the gender gap that everyone's so concerned with, yes, there is a gender gap. That's because there are plenty of people in the Republican Party who want to deny women their basic reproductive rights. Rick Santorum happens to be one of them. And I loved, it was just like Herman Cain. It was exactly the same thing. Herman Cain came out and talked about, well, abortion should never be legal and, crush abortion. And then when asked when his daughter, well, if your daughter wanted to have an abortion, would it suddenly be legal? And he totally evaded the question. Rick Santorum did the same thing with contraception. Now, I'm not a Republican. I'm supporting Ron Paul this time around. I'm not a member of either party. I don't care. If the candidate's right, I'll vote for him. If they're not, I won't vote for him. I don't care if they have an R or a D after their name. But Rick Santorum came out, and he totally sidestepped all the questions about contraception. He had his aides going on and said, these staff members, saying, oh, well, he's not against contraception. But he is. You listen to his own statements, and he says, lo and behold, he wants to end all forms of contraception, end all forms of abortion, grind down the gays, fuck with the system involving minorities, fuck with the immigration system, all of these terrible ideas which are antithetical to the beliefs of the United States as a free country, and yet he was considered a viable candidate, or at least a second-tier candidate. It's amazing. My prediction following this, I think he held on because he obviously wanted to go into Pennsylvania and at least win the state, if not by a large margin. I think when he realized he was only a couple points ahead, he decided to save face just on the off chance he lost his own home state and permanently crushed all political aspirations for the rest of his life. I think this way he's avoiding a potential second place standing in his own home state. The idea being that maybe in the future, with all the extra publicity he's garnered from this race for the last few months, that he can go back into politics at least on a state level. So it's sort of a saving face situation. Hopefully he stays out of politics and he goes and becomes a preacher, one of those fire and brimstone, extremely anti-gay, anti-minority preachers, and hopefully he stays out of public life because he puts his foot in his mouth every time he speaks. I am so glad that Rick Santorum got out of the race. And lo and behold, I made a video months ago about his stupid quotes, and between the main video I uploaded and the dozens of mirrors of that video, tens of thousands of people saw it. And you can see, people understand when they look at the things Rick Santorum said, they understand he is not literally, and this isn't even a stretch of the imagination, he is literally not mentally healthy. There is something specifically wrong with his psyche that makes him a completely disqualified candidate, I would say, for any public office. I would say he needs to seek mental help. He needs to go into the mental health services and he needs to have a shrink examine him, because his unhealthy obsession with topics such as homosexuality, feminism, women's rights, abortion, his unhealthy fascination with these issues, taken an antithetical approach to what his oath of office would be if he were actually president, which is to protect people and to try to preserve their liberties, it's just not safe for someone like that to be in politics. I feel sorry for the man. I feel sorry for him because, number one, of his child, which is sick. I feel sorry for him that he's been so brainwashed by extremism that he essentially takes what would be a softcore terrorist approach to gay marriage. There's nothing more to say. The man has dropped out of the race, and hopefully he stays out of politics. He never should have been involved in politics to begin with. He could make a lot of money just being a fire and brimstone Southern-style preacher. He could easily go to South Carolina or Georgia or Alabama or Mississippi or any of those racist states and become a fiery white preacher and denounce blacks and gays and, these upstart feminized women. He could make a lot of money, millions of dollars, being a televangelist down there. He could easily be the next Bob Larson or Billy Graham or Jimmy Swaggart or any of these other evangelist figures. He could easily be one of them. He's got the charisma to do it. He could make a lot of money being a bigot. Why doesn't he do that? He'd make more money than he would in the Senate. And meanwhile, let's look at who's left in the race now. You've got boring Romney, who nobody really likes, and they think he's going to be the nominee, even though they hate his guts. And he came in second place to McCain, who in turn got crushed by Obama. Look at the chance of him beating Obama this time around, probably non-existent. You've got Newt Gingrich, oh my God. I mean, you just look at the man, you must feel sorry for him. For one thing, he's like a dwarf. He's like this short, fat, round, pimple-faced little dwarf. Totally manipulative and totally egotistical. You listen to his quotes, and he comes off as having a god complex. And in every debate, he says these weird, off-the-wall things that he then has to recant a couple days later. How the hell is he going to beat Obama? Obama, for all of his faults, I'll give Obama credit where credit is due. He's got that sort of slightly snide, slightly arrogant, and slightly sarcastic attitude that a lot of people who have gone into higher learning get, especially in left-leaning institutions. He's got that typical, chuckling behind your back appeal. I guess you'd sort of call it an appeal that some people find attractive in him. His debate skills are about an order of magnitude above where Newt Gingrich is. I think Mitt Romney might be able to hold his own. Newt Gingrich, Obama could, float in circles around him, pinning him to the wall, and then just make him say these off-the-wall things and then just make him look like an absolute moron. Anyone who thinks Gingrich, at this point Gingrich is falling in the polls anyway. Ironically, there is one candidate who's slowly rising in the polls who could absorb all of the evangelical votes if the evangelicals would just look at what he's saying and ignore the fact that he doesn't support the drug war and interventionist policies in other countries. If they could just get around the fact that he doesn't like war and doesn't like putting potheads in jail, I think a lot of the evangelicals, because let's face it, that's who supported Santorum in the first place, would really like Ron Paul. And I think when Gingrich inevitably drops out in the next month or so, because let's face it, he's going to drop out, I think that the people who are supporting Santorum and Gingrich just support Ron Paul. If you don't like Romney, Santorum is gone. He can't win because he's out of the race. He suspended his campaign. Gingrich doesn't have a chance. Please listen to me, Republicans. Do you honestly think Newt Gingrich, even if you like the man, do you honestly think he has the skills necessary to defeat Obama in a debate? No, he does not have those skills. He debates like a complete moron. Even if you like his policies, he simply doesn't have the capability, the mental capacity to defeat him in a debate. He's got less intellectual capacity than George W. Bush has. And whether, again, you like him or not, again, couldn't hold a candle to Obama in a debate. So if you hate Romney's guts, you've still got a candidate in there who's capable of holding his own in a debate, and he's shown it time and time again. He can also steal the youth vote away from Obama. He can even steal the progressive vote, the progressive libertarians. You put Ron Paul up against Obama, Obama loses the youth and the progressives? If he loses both of those key blocks, he's crushed. Obama can't win. He'd probably lose the female vote too, because unlike most of the Republicans in the race, Ron Paul doesn't give a shit about whether women get abortions as long as it's handled at the state level. We can destroy Barack Obama through Ron Paul. If the people who are supporting Santorum and Gingrich just get off their asses and support the right candidate for a change, because Santorum and Gingrich never had a chance. One was too bigoted, one isn't capable of debating. Debates form a very large foundation. Debates and public statements and speeches that are made, they form the foundation of a campaign in this modern age. In this modern age, when a YouTube video gets 10 million views, or anything you say can be put on TV within an hour, you can bet your ass Gingrich and Santorum never had a chance in this race. There are two people you can put before Obama. One is a boring, silver spoon, middle-aged, sort of Mormon figure, who nobody in the Republican Party even likes, who couldn't even defeat McCain, and McCain got crushed by Obama. Or you can choose this other dude who's been running for a frigging decade, and he's gotten further now than he ever has before, and he's got good ideas, and he could reinvigorate the entire Republican Party. Which one are we going to choose? Are we going to choose the dude with, $200 million plus, who, straps his dog to the roof of his car for a 5-hour car ride? Is that really the candidate you want to put up against supposedly Obama being the most divisive, manipulative, alluring yet suspicious character, and also closet Muslim that you've ever had in the White House? Is that really the candidate you want to put? He'd cut Romney to pieces. That's just my prediction. There are two candidates that can do it. Time will tell which one the Republicans put forward, but Santorum's out of the race. Glad of it, because Santorum sucks. Peace out.